Your feet are so incredibly important. When I would go into nursing homes when I was paying my dues as a young podiatrist, you could tell the difference between the health of the patients that just stayed in their rooms and then the ones that were out and about moving around. So, that's the long-standing amazement of how powerful your feet can be. It helps you with your full body wellness. It helps you with your social well-being. So you don't discount your feet.
This is StRest. I'm Kerstin Lindquist, health coach, author, and Emmy award-winning TV host. I've committed to helping people reduce stress through impressive health science, attainable mindset change, and biblical truth. Let's have a real conversation with zero judgment and endless solutions that you can use. You aren't alone. You can do this. Let me help you reduce stress and make room for rest.
So this conversation was really important to me. You might not think, we're going to talk about feet on StRest. What does that have to do with health science and biblical truth? Well, stay with me here. The thing is, if you aren't feeling good in the feet, the rest of the body isn't either, and you're not moving. And the main components of your wellness, how you eat, how you sleep, how you move, and relationships and spirituality. And what we're going to learn in this episode of StRest is that foot health impacts every single one of those. Your relationships, how you show up in the world, how you move. We're even going to talk about how you eat, and we're going to have a special emphasis on type 2 diabetics as well in this conversation. We are joined with my absolute favorite podiatrist. Yes, I have a favorite podiatrist because I met him at QVC and we just instantly clicked, and he's such a nice, funny Italian. You're going to love him. Dr. Nicholas Pagano. He is a board-certified foot and ankle surgeon. He is the co-owner of Barking Dogs Foot and Ankle Care in Philadelphia. He has his doctor of podiatric medicine from Temple University. He also teaches there. He was trained in Brooklyn with a focus on sports medicine. He's an avid runner, or was, and we'll learn why. He does reconstructive surgery, diabetic limb salvage, and he was eventually served as the chief resident. Now you see him on QVC with the brand Spanko, formerly Revitalign. So we have a fantastic conversation about the connection between your feet and your nervous system and how it impacts the stress in the body. Also, the one thing that you should be doing every single day, writing the alphabet with your toe. How? Yeah, let's learn. It's time to welcome in Dr. Nicholas Pagano.
Stay with us. There's so much more to come.
I'm super into the research right now when it comes to creatine and collagen. In fact, let's talk creatine for a second. And the one that I trust happens to be Ancient Nutrition. Research shows that women naturally have 70 to 80% lower creatine stores than men, which means we're ideal candidates for it. And collagen we know is important not only as a protein, but it's also great for joint health. And I've been feeling the joints a little bit more. I'm in my 40s. I have that cold shoulder women's 40 thing that there's a lot of different things we can do, but it's really important to pump up your collagen. So I'm doing the two together, collagen and creatine, and there's actually a new product from Ancient Nutrition that puts the two of those together. Creatine is one of the most clinically studied supplements, and it's a game changer for women's wellness. It supports cognitive health. That's what I love the most about it. Muscle endurance and recovery, and it helps you build long, lean muscles and strength while staying sharp. And then you pair that with clinically studied collagen, which is what we get from all of our Ancient Nutrition products, and that can help you improve your joint comfort, your mobility, and your recovery. I take it right after a workout in the morning, and I still also love multi-collagen proteins and those peptides in my coffee every morning as well. So support your brain and your body and your beauty every single day with Ancient Nutrition so you can look toned, you can feel strong, and you can stay sharp. Here's what you do. You go over to ancientnutrition.com and put in the code STREST20. That's STREST20, STREST20 at checkout, and you'll get 20% off site-wide. Get your collagen, get your creatine, get your Ancient Nutrition. I want to know if you see a link between chronic pain in the feet and stress in the nervous system and how we're metabolizing stress on a day-to-day basis.
So I think that feet are a reflection of the whole body, right? And, I'm a huge believer in Eastern medicine and things like reflexology and meridians, etc. But one of the major things that happens with pain is your neuroreceptors feeling something. And then I always like to simplify things with my patients. And, if we go back to when we were cavemen, right? Like it's like something would happen and it would hurt. And that's how they would know something was wrong. So in regards to foot pain, I believe that when those receptors sense that pain, they send a signal to your brain. Your brain then has all of its glandular functions that allow us to respond to stress. So with your question, there's a direct relationship between foot pain and overall body stress. And one of my first patients that I saw at Temple, when the first time we go into clinic, was this beautiful little lady that might have been like 80 or 90. I hate to say it was like 25 years ago, but she said to me, if your feet hurt or your teeth hurt, the whole machine is broken.
So true.
And so in regards to overall stress in your body, I think pain in general, I think that we're finally we've always known what pain can do to overall health and pain control. I think that there's been a lot of development in regards to, unfortunately, the opioid crisis and what that would do to patients. Dependency would develop, and now we're gathering a better understanding. Before I got I had to renew my license, and this is actually very good. I prescribe narcotics primarily for postoperative pain. It's necessary. It's for a short duration. Like before you got your license, we had to do 8 hours of training in narcotics and opioid management. And, a lot of people complained about it. I'm one of those, I always want to learn. Like I'll sit down and I'll read about it. But there are so many other things besides narcotics for pain management: meditation, physical therapy, exercising, topical medications that can be utilized instead of it. So the fact that we're making all this focus on something as in pain, and, I'm a guy that's been in practice now for 20 years. I'm spending 8 hours learning about it. Like the feet, when they do hurt, just like that little lady said to me, like everything is off. Your stress will increase. You're constantly thinking about it. Pain can imprison you. People will be afraid. Like take, for example, plantar fasciitis, the major thing that we know about when patients have it. I don't even need to do an exam. I know a lot of times know what's wrong with them by what they describe. It's that first step in the morning, and everybody talks about waking up on the wrong side of the bed. But when you step down and you feel pain, it's a horrible way to start your day. Then it just steamrolls throughout the day. So if we can control pain involving the feet, it will absolutely decrease full body stress levels.
I always am, and I've always been, even when I was at QVC, very focused on the right shoe for the foot, because I want people to keep moving. Movement is medicine, and exercise, and that's going to help manage our stress, make us more resilient, have a more joy-filled life, manage the weight, all the things. But I love this topic of pain that you're talking about.
Good.
So for you, for Nick and his family, pain anywhere, as a doctor, where do you try and go first? Are you grabbing the Advil, or are you grabbing red light, or what do you do?
So, I have a 13-year-old and I have an 11-year-old, right? So first you got to be a detective and find out if it's really anything or if they just don't want to go to school, right? That's number one. I also have a wife who is a breast cancer survivor, right? So one of the things that we have to deal with, and back to stress, is the fear of pain. Something that you palpate here, then all of a sudden you feel pain in your back. So like intake is first. And of course, I don't say let's take an intake, but it's like,
You get out your clipboard with your wife and the 13-year-old?
what are your symptoms? Okay, that doesn't add up.
Fun house.
But, one is just number one, assess exactly what your pain is, right? A lot of times, again, kids with sports, it's, an injury. Okay. In that scenario, ice. My mom, I was raised by a nurse. So number one, I couldn't get away with anything, right? But two, it was always very holistic healing with me. Ice, rest, compression, elevation, those basic things. Immediately I go with topical things. That's one of the things that I'm a big proponent of. I'm a big proponent of, biofreeze. I'm a big proponent of medical marijuana. I think that, especially with what my wife went through, it was a savior for like pains and whatnot.
And are we talking about medical marijuana? Is that topical too? I don't have no idea.
Yeah,
You can do topical as well?
topical bombs can be extremely helpful. Then the other thing that you have to assess, and we have Advil in our house, we have Aleve in our house, we have Tylenol. Based on what they're used for, Tylenol's for pain and fevers, Advil, Aleve, those are for inflammation and they help with mild to moderate pain. I sound like the commercial, but ice is nature's anti-inflammatory drug. The other thing, like if it's an acute injury, accept it. If we need to go, like my kids have had, soccer injuries, like do we need to take them in for an x-ray, urgent care or whatnot? But pain initially, you have to find out why it's happening. So part of it is figuring out the history, in the case of like my kids is when did it start? What tests do you have today in school? Like, why does this hurt? But if you can figure out the cause of it, it's usually a lot easier to treat. So, dealing with that pain, dependent on what it is, if you can do something outside of the body first to correct that issue, it's versus taking medication, that's great. I prescribe medication all day, Kerstin, every day here in the office. So it's not a poo-pooing on that. But a lot of times by the time they get to me, they've already tried multiple things. And that's where that's where I can help out. Like, heating pads, like those types of things. I love, it's funny, like our one friend introduced us many years ago to Salon Pas. And this isn't a commercial. Those pads are awesome. They're very helpful for pain. But if you have a fever, like, yes, we give Tylenol. If you have a fever, like I'm able to like provide an assessment, listen to lungs, check all those things, look in ears, look in noses. But pain in general, you got to find out why it's happening. So if there is an acute injury, sure, that's pretty cut and dry. But if this is something that's lingering, all right, well, why did it get to this? What happened? And make that.
And see, I love that about you because a lot of doctors out there are Band-Aid medicine. Let's just throw this pill on top of it and not really get back to what is the root cause of it.
Yeah. And you can absolutely, like a lot of times a patient has a need. So we're able to satisfy that need. But like pain in their foot. So this patient came in to me with like very severe pain underneath their fifth metatarsal. One of the things that I do here in my office is like, we'll take x-rays. I also do a gait analysis, and it's like you and I, like that thermographic that you see, like, and I'm on with Revitalign, like we actually have it in a pad where we get motion. So this patient was being seen at this other like institution, and they were treating her with injections, physical therapy, and they told her that she needed to have surgery. So the first thing when a patient comes into my office, it's very it's very funny because I'm just like so rigid in like my examination. Then like I open the doors to listen to the patient and find out what the heck is going on. Then we build from there. So you check their skin. You check their vascular supply. And I always joke, the one time I don't check your vascular supply is when you don't have blood flow. And then I'm like the worst doctor you've ever met in your life. Neurological evaluation, and then orthopedic or podiatric evaluation. So we go through all that. I send her across, I take an x-ray, I send her across my walking thing, and that thermographic comes on right underneath that fifth metatarsal. It was just red hot, meaning that there was such an excessive amount of pressure. We go back into the room. I start doing mobility. I start doing like my little, a guy named Diamond, who is one of my mentors. He's all about like mobility. So that's why like I was very excited to talk to you about it. And it was amazing, one, that she was lacking an extreme amount of motion in the midfoot. And then on top of it, her Achilles, Kerstin, I couldn't even get her ankle to 90 degrees. It was just down.
Right.
And it's like, you don't need surgery, right? I'm going to give you, like, if I recall correctly, We're going to give you a brace. I'm going to give you some exercises to do at home. Stop with the steroid injections, like, because all we're doing in that scenario is we're, like you said, but we're treating the result. We're not treating the cause. And, you know, I did create an orthotic with like an offloading, and I could have easily gotten her out of my office in 10 minutes. But I do feel that if you just take a couple of seconds, it's not seconds. If you come to my office, if you are not patient, you're going to get very upset because I'm insanely slow. Like, I'm just like, but if you find that root cause, like, it can be. And sometimes there's not a root cause. Sometimes you walk in with a broken bone, we got to go to the OR. We got to fix it. Sometimes if you have an infection, we got to go and we got to get that infection out. But a lot of times that finding the cause is really the focus of what medicine is. And that's why, like, I'm a nerd about it. You know this, but like, that's why it's an art. Like, that's why it's artistry, like, to be in medicine.
We do wish that you could be our doctor for everything in that case here on this podcast, because we're all about getting to root cause. That's a very functional approach to it, a very integrative approach to it, which unfortunately, to your point, when you go to your regular doctor, you're lucky if you get 15 minutes. Oftentimes it's 6 and it is a Band-Aid, and it's how can I fix it and you're not in pain right now. So part of this goes back to why you're even here on this podcast is you and I met at QVC. And I remember, and by the way, I hope this makes you feel just a little special. I think you might be only the 4th or the 5th QVC connection that I've had on the podcast. And we're going on a year now of doing this podcast, and we're on twice a week. Like, it's not like I'm that person who goes and gets all these QVC people. They have to be kind of special, Dr. Nick. And you're kind of special.
I will, with everything I feel, I'm honored to be here. Like, it's always very funny, and not to go off on a tangent, but like,
please,
I'm just this podiatrist from, you know, Montgomery County. Like, and then I go on and, like, you know, there's all these lights up, and I'm just like, and you were always so incredibly welcoming to me. And, you know, once I got past the fact that, like, hey, I got to say this, and this, when I would go on with you, like, we were kind of just hanging out, and
that's the whole point.
And like, in regard, like, with Spenco and Revitalign, like, I do feel that you and I, like, you did such an incredible job with our brand. We even worked together, and you had a shoe with us.
I had 2. We did 2 seasons of flip-flops with Spenco that I still have and I love. And now Revitalign and Waco Shoe Company sponsored the podcast. They're the only shoe company that I work with, because when I left QVC, it wasn't because I didn't like being on TV and hanging out with Dr. Nick. It's not because I didn't like shopping and presenting and selling. It was because I only wanted to get behind specific products that were truly aligned with health science and biblical truth. And so when Revitalign and Waco Shoe Company were talking, I was like, this is perfect, because the health of the feet, just like you said, impacts the entire body. And I can't get my audience, and I can't get the women that I serve and men to get moving and get healthy if their feet hurt.
Yeah.
But they also have to look cute. So that's why
they got to look.
That's why I partnered up with the brand. But I remember you coming in and me going, gosh, we have a podiatrist. Like, how fun is that going to be on the air? And Dr. Nick is one of the most fun people to be on TV with. You're just so uniquely you. And it is just like hanging out. And you get the science out, but we also get to joke and have fun.
It's fun. You know, it's a lot of fun. It's something that I love, you know, like, I dedicated my life to it, but it's.
Yeah. How did you get there? Like, did you always want to be a podiatrist?
No. So my mom was a nurse, and she was raised by a woman that her husband died at the age of 4. And so my mom basically would just work with my Nana, and she directed herself into becoming a nurse. So in the early day, I'm going way back, and I'm sorry, I'll get to the straight part. So my mom marries this Italian guy, which my dad always jokes was social climbing back in the day. And my dad worked for IBM. My father never did not go to college to start. He just went into the military, came back, worked for IBM. He worked in the mailroom, and any opportunity he got, he would move. At this point, my mom does 2 years, gets her RN degree in Abington, and it's awesome. I have a picture of my mom, and like she graduated like in the early 70s. She's got bell bottoms, long, flat, like flower girl look, but that's just for the fashion aspect of it. So as I was growing up, I would watch my mom go to these different jobs in these different cities. So that's how my dad worked his way up in IBM, like from the mailroom all the way to like an executive level. That's why I was born in Alabama. Like my sister was born in Philly when they were still in nursing school. My older brother was born in Baltimore. I was born in Alabama because we basically just followed where my dad could get promotions. And I just knew like the work ethic was there because if you work hard enough, you can get whatever you want. And that's what I truly feel. So my mom being a nurse, because she was never really in a lock steady job, she would just go to the community colleges and keep building her degree till she got her master's. So I would see my mom constantly studying. I would see my mom like going, I would have to go with her because I was the youngest kid, and she would do these home visits. She was doing trachs. And I just saw the kindness of it. The fact that my mom was raised by this Irish woman in West Philadelphia that went to church every morning. I also was definitely raised in a very religious house. The one major thing that I learned, and I'm Catholic, but the one major thing, and this isn't just about being Catholic, this is about being a person, is the golden rule. You know, you treat others as you want to be treated, love one another as you
Love above all. Yeah.
So now we're getting to my actual answer. So I'm sorry.
No, I love the background.
Behind seeing how my mom would care for patients, I knew I wanted to go into medicine. I didn't know how it was going to happen. My father told me, don't do it the way I did it, which basically was his way of just saying, go to college, Nick, not don't go into business. So this is what's odd is like he told all of us. So my sister Nicole is a nurse, my brother's a pharmacist, and I'm a podiatrist. So we just did what my mom did. Like, so we're not very creative. So how podiatry happened was I was a biology major at LaSalle University. I ran track. I was a steeplechase runner for LaSalle. I ran cross country and everything. And during that time, I worked at the Jenkintown Running Company, which is I'm very proud that it's like an elite running shoe store.
This is all such like local stuff right now happening for those of you who are watching like in Michigan or Seattle. Like this is all very Pennsylvania.
It's very Pennsylvania. So I apologize about that.
No, it's great though.
But at this shoe store, a guy named Joe Paleo, he's like, Nick, you got to watch them walk. And he's like, when they come in, don't ask them what their shoe size is. And like, just watch them walk. And then like, this is what this shoe's for. This is what that shoe's for. So like, and that's why what's interesting. And like, I'll just feed this in. We sold Spenco insoles. So that's like when I say that we would add those. Then a guy named Ira Myers, Dr. Ira Myers, he's located in Huntington Valley. He was the running doctor. This is one of the only podiatrists I knew that won the Philadelphia Marathon. So he would come in and he was just like, Nick, this is actually a really good gig. You should look into it. And I went to Temple. I did this summer internship program. It was awesome. And after I finished at LaSalle, I still have 1 year of eligibility left for running because I left her.
Well,
so if they need a 47-year-old,
doors open.
Like I'm ready to go back. But so I ended up going into podiatry because of there's a religious component to it because I feel like we are here to serve. I feel that that's the only reason why we're here.
Amen.
I saw the power of what my mom did, and it was the running. So now podiatry is this incredible option because today, right, I took care of a diabetic foot ulceration. I saw a couple of post-ops. I took care of a runner. I took care of a kid that is dealing with like severe heel pain that, the parents came in. I had a buddy that came in because he has gout, so it's not just like this focus like with podiatry. So podiatry is this amazing, amazing career option. And then what I always love to say, like on Monday, I got to achieve like one of my major career goals, which I've been doing for a while, which was I finish work and I go and I coach my kids in sports.
Yeah.
And there's definitely beauty in all the other forms of medicine and whatnot. But I knew in looking at it, and this is probably because of Dr. Ira Myers, you can have this wonderful life and still be able to serve. And then like yesterday, yesterday I was in the operating room at 7:30. We were fixing a broken second metatarsal. And then I go in and I burn through patients like from 9 to like 5, and I get in my car and I drive down to Westchester and I join Courtney and shoe shopping, and then
There you
boom, and I
go.
collapse.
It sounds to me, though, and this is a big theme and has been through the last year on the podcast, you are living in your purpose. You might have stress in your life, but it is building a resilience because you're aligned with your purpose.
I think it's hard to find a purpose, though. That's the one thing. I think I'm very blessed and lucky to have had all the, have all these like little things that lined up to have me here. And I think podiatry is just one stage of my life too. Like, I think there's more to do,
And I wouldn't necessarily put it out there as luck. I mean, your main focus of serve first, love above all, that always aligns you in where you're supposed to be going and what the Lord has for you, because you have, it wasn't make money first. It wasn't, it was serve first, and that's what you're doing. So then, and we will get back to feet, I promise.
That's fine.
But what more when you say there's something else?
Well, one of the
back to running, is that what it is?
I think it's back to LaSalle, and like, I don't think I could even get over a hurdle anymore, let alone jump in water.
Do you still run?
So unfortunately, whenever I have a kid in my office that's like an athlete, like I will say to them, I am speaking to Nick Pagano at 18 right now. Stretch. For God's sakes, like stretch. It was during, I would always run. I do not run as much anymore. Unfortunately, I had a significant knee surgery. I love sharing the story. I went in, I saw this wonderful physician at Penn, Dr. Carey. He's like, we are going to harvest your cartilage, Nick, and we're going to grow it and we're going to reimplant it, and you'll be back to good as new. But the years of running and not stretching, Kerstin, he goes in and he like does the surgery, and he comes out. And like, if you've ever had arthroscopic surgery, there's like all these little circles. Like when I'm doing ankle scopes, you take pictures, but they basically just look like that. And to the naked eye, they don't look like anything. He like shows me and he goes, so here's your knee. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And he goes, we usually harvest from around here. I'm like, okay. And he's like, you don't have cartilage there. And he's like, you don't actually have cartilage anywhere. And I'm like, all right, okay. So, and he says to me, he goes, oh, and look, this is your meniscus. And I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, I can see like, it's like very frayed. He goes, oh man, it was just a mess. And I go, did you repair it? And he goes, in younger people, we do. Yeah.
But
it's like, we just cut it out. So long story short, I'm an idiot because I still play basketball 2 times a week, and I just I labor through it, but I have completely converted to yoga. I do yoga 5 to 6 days a week. There's a wonderful studio. The teachers are great around here. It's Yoga 6. And
we have one of those up here now by us too, or two of them.
They're great because of my kids, because of my work. It's like, I made a decision in April. I go 5:30 Tuesday through Friday. And like, it's this nice variety of like power yoga. They do this thing that really turned me on to it, which is called Sculpt and Flow. And what it is they do yoga, and then it's a HIIT workout, and then they close with yoga.
Sounds beautiful.
It's really good. And then Thursdays is like what they call slow flow, which is like holding positions. And then Friday is like, I don't even know why I do it, but it's that hot yoga stuff.
Yeah.
And
well, then you don't have to have the sauna in your house when you do the hot yoga.
I'm a mess. Like when I walk out of there, and it's me and like me and like two other dudes and like a bunch of girls. And I'm like, just won't
course.
be near me because it's just like a lot of sweat. But it's really,
It's so funny that you say that because I do yoga. I only get to do it one day a week, but religiously every Thursday, my daughter and I go, and there are probably 2 dudes and the rest are girls. And those dudes sweat like crazy. What is it with the guys? They sweat so
we're
much.
gross. Like, I mean, let's be, I know there, like, who is listening, but like in general, I'm well aware of how gross men are in general. And God bless you women for dealing with us.
You're so kind. So, well, that's a good segue then, because talk to me about what we can do for below the knee health. And I would think that stretching would be one of those things.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I find to be really helpful is that stretching is cumulative. I sound like my father in my head. Stretching is cumulative, and I experience it now as I get older. And, you know, in discussing like about how I will go and I do yoga as much as I possibly can. Every time I go to a class, it's like I've never been in class. Like my flexibility as we unfortunately get older definitely decreases, and you have to manage it. It's like you have to, like, I love you said it because I say it all the time. We got to keep you moving. And you got to stay active. And one of the reasons why with my knee, like when you really finally broke it down, it was all about alignment. And, you know, and I can't like do like, I don't know if I could even justify it with the camera, but like when I sit, I don't know, I can't make it loud. When I sit, like my right knee, you can see that it's below the camera, right? My right knee, that's the mess. But really when we're doing this stretch where you just put your leg over and push down, you're working your hip is what happens. Let me show you what happens with my left hip. Like I have to pull it up and like you can see my knee. This is as far as I can get it down. And so at this point over time, like that, if I don't stay on top of flexibility and mobility, your joints will be out of alignment. And one thing that I say, and this is like when I go in and I operate on people, I go in and I like move things around and I put things back into place. I'm not God, right? God put us into our shape with this incredible instrument that we have, also known as our bodies. Those joints, though, they are real particular. They are really particular with where they want to be. So if you have tightness and you do not have fluidity across your joint spaces, and it's just like that lady that we talked about with it was like the pain was here, but it was really all the tightness from above. That's what creates it. So like calf stretching, runner stretches, extremely helpful. Mobility of your ankle, the way that I love to tell patients, make it easy for you. Like cross your feet over each other, use your big toe as your pen and write the alphabet. By the time you're done, your foot has moved all over the place. So the foot joints are mobile, the ankle joint is mobile. But the one thing, even though I'm below the knee as a specialist, we sit all day. Unfortunately, I do too. And when you sit, everything is like loose. It's not being stretched out. So one thing that happens, especially your lower back, your hamstrings, because they're in this relaxed position, they will get tighter. So something as simple as like touching your toes, like can be very, very helpful. All right. I can't, what can I do? I can't touch my toes. All right. That's fine. What you can do is use band stretching. And I always tell people, I'm like, like your local store where they have we have TJ Maxx and we have Marshalls around here.
Exactly. A Home Goods, a Target.
Go in there and go to that like shelf where they have like, the pull-up bar that you can buy. Get bands, get stretching bands, make sure that you're keeping your joints in proper alignment and do flexibility and do strengthening of those joints. There's definitely plenty of chair exercises that you can do, but back to what you started with, Kerstin, it's about, you got to keep moving. You got to keep moving.
Which I would think in your position could be hard with the patients that you see, especially those you're operating on or who have injuries, because like you said in the beginning, the recipe is rest. So where's that balance of I need you to rest and get better, but at the same time, I got to keep you moving because the longer that you're not moving, the worse shape you're going to be
Yeah,
in.
you can run into like atrophy and weakness, and then that imbalance can occur. So, I mean, from a case to case basis, dependent on like a surgical patient or an injured patient, the body needs time to heal, right? The beauty of our ability to monitor how the healing is occurring, whether it's with physical findings, radiographic studies, MRIs, whatnot, listening to the patient where they're at, there has to be a point where, therapy gets into play to advance them forward. Obviously, in a scenario, you broke your foot, it's 4 to 6 weeks, but for me, when it's like, if it's one foot, we can still work the other one, also there's like, there's this Vincent Mosky, he's an orthopedist out west. And because I teach pediatrics at Temple, and we use his textbook for our students, and you open up the book, and this applies to adults too. He's like, in treating pediatric patients, remember, there's a whole human above those feet, right? So you could still work with your cardiovascular system, whether that's, well, it hurts to run, get a bike, swim, that type of thing. Use like an arm treadmill, like one of those things. Just get the blood flowing through your body. The body wants oxygenated blood. That's like what makes us feel good. That's why massage feels good. You cut the body circulation and then you release it. And like, it's just insane how it happens. Like that's like, it just flows. Like, and so anything we do to keep you moving. So in regards to, but we have this injured patient, what do? You have to time it right, but you do need to keep it motivated. One thing that I say is like, when I'm like, okay, we're going to let's one of the more common things that I operate on is a bunion. I joke when I came out of my residency, because I was going to reconstruct limbs. I was going to like do all this wild stuff. I do bunions. It's what I do. And I'm very happy with that. But I'll say to my patient, I'm like, for the first 2 weeks, you need to stay off of your foot. And then we'll slowly begin you moving. 4 weeks, we'll reassess. We'll start physical therapy. I go 6 weeks, you come in. And the only reason why you come in is that I'm going to have to be your cheerleader to say, like, you're doing great. And like, but it's just like, you got to keep them moving once they're healed and ready to go.
We'll be right back. Don't go away. It's just getting good.
On StRest, we talk a lot about supporting the systems in your life that hold you up, your habits, your routines, sleep, but that also includes your feet. Remember that song we used to sing, knee bone connected to the hip bone? That's not right, but you know where I'm going with this, right? It's all connected, and it starts with your feet. And if you're like me, you probably sacrificed comfort to style more times than you can count. I was able to join Revitalign when I worked at QVC to create really, really great shoes, flip-flops, sandals for you for many years. And now they are a sponsor of StRest. I love this brand. My entire family wears them. It's all about aligning your body from the ground up, literally, but also doing it with super cute styles. I wear them around the house, on long days of filming, even traveling, of course, down at the beach. And the difference is my body feels better at the end of the day. And that's what I want for you as well. Going into a new season, make sure you get yourself new, good shoes. And we have a discount for you. Visit WACOShoeCompany.com. That's WACO shoecompany.com and enter the code Kerstin, Kerstin 20 for 20% off everything from really cute wedges to boots to sneakers. Get out there and get your sneakers. That's Waco Shoe Company, WACO shoecompany.com, and put in the code Kerstin 20, Kerstin 20. So you get 20% off and support yourself from the ground up. Is there a connection between how we walk and energy levels?
I think so. I mean, I don't think that there's a connection, like if somebody walks a different way, but I do think when you are in a certain type of gait, shoulders back, head up to actually visualize and see the world. That way oxygen could come into your lungs properly, that you would have more energy. I do think that if you are out of alignment, whether it's in the foot, knee, or whatnot, if that alignment is off and you are not getting efficient motion at each joint, yes, that could absolutely affect your energy. If you think about it, you're having a bad day, shoulders are furrowed, head is dangled, you emit a negative energy. When you're in a good mood, where are those shoulders? Where is that head? Right? You're rolling, chest is up and out. So the way that you walk, I was actually thinking about this when I was working, when I was prepping to talk to you. Some days I don't feel like working, right? We all have.
Oh, good. You're human.
Yeah. And some days, I might be dealing with something at home. I might be dealing with, personal stuff, something might have been bad happening. It's funny that I have a tree because I can't reference it, but there's the tree story about hanging your problems on a tree. And I did not plan this.
That's how God works.
But the one thing that I thought about it, if you can let go of it and go in. And the one thing that I thought about, and it's great because you talk about it, I'll be going in from room 3 to room 2. And it's just I take care of Mrs. Smith and happy go lucky. I got to learn her pasta recipe, which is one of the secret favorite times of my visit, when I start to learn how people are cooking. That's the beauty of taking care of patients that are a little bit older. Just get their wisdom. But so then I go into I make my way into the other room, and I'm probably toast at this point. And, I take a deep breath, I open my eyes and I open the door and I start over, and I get you give that person the attention that they deserve because they've planned. I know with what I've gone through with Elena, when you come into a doctor's office, and yes, I'm a podiatrist, but you're coming there to receive information about health. Sometimes, even though it might be some minor injury, there's fear involved with it. So when you come in to see that physician, you want them to listen to you. So if I go in there and I'm thinking about, why didn't my son play man defense better last night in our basketball game? I'm not going to do my job. So the posture going in can change everything. That was a really long answer. I'm sorry.
I love that answer though, because we can use that for everything that we do in life.
Yeah. Well, I think about the King and I think about what if you the play The King and I, there was the one song about whistling a happy tune, and that ability to transfer your energy in a positive way. When I had a patient yesterday that her son was going to be starting for the football team. And she said to me, he is so nervous. And I said, that is awesome, because there's not really a lot of things to get nervous about.
Yeah, that is great. What about the relationship between good shoes and your whole body?
I oftentimes point out that it seems like I'm some sort of wizard because I tell people to get better shoes, and it can change your day. It can absolutely change your day if you have the right shoes. And again, also to go back to the posture can be completely affected by shoes. I will stand and it works out great. My wife and I are in a complete understanding that I'm going to look at people walking, and it's not weird because it's my job.
My goodness. Since my job at QVC, I do the same thing. I'll watch people walk especially when they're in flip-flops from behind. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, they're pronating, or oh my gosh, those flip-flops are so flat. There's no support there. They're going to roll an ankle. They're going to have knee problems. And I'm not even a podiatrist, so I can't imagine what you do.
Well, I am still amazed that people can walk in high-heeled shoes.
Okay, that was another question I was going to ask. Do people still wear those? And as I'm asking that, I'm like, yeah, there's actually a couple hosts at QVC who still wear super high.
There's when I watch people walk in high-heeled shoes, it's called the subtalar joint, which is the joint that is directly underneath your ankle bone. and it allows your foot to go like this. The foot's amazing, and I don't need to get into all that. But like how the foot supinates and then pronates, but when you're landing on a peg, like a stiletto, you just watch and like, I can't do it just as I am, but like you just see like in that mid stance, they go like 4 or 5 times and then propel off. So when people are like, oh, I was wearing these shoes, my feet are so tired. Like, so am I. I'm tired of like seeing it. But like when you're looking at shoes, like you said, like a really flat flip flop, and you'll see like the body is a big Jenga, right? If you think about it, you pull a peg out here, you pull, and then all of a sudden it just starts wobbling a little bit. If you pull too many out, it falls. So if you think about it, you're watching the person with the flat flip flops. Don't even just look at the feet, right? Just like how you see the brain. Look at their knees. Look at where their pelvis is and where it's sitting. Look at their shoulder drop. And it's just like the effects of everything that can be. Like, so a good pair of shoes, properly fitted, properly sized in length and width. And then if you need, and as a podiatrist, everybody needs something to aid in their alignment, the whole thing works up from the bottom. Like, just it'll help with every step that you take. And I can't tell you how many times people come in like, oh my God, it was just the shoes. That was amazing. How did you know? I'm like, my mom told me when I was in kindergarten.
I'm a doctor.
That's it.
But people are born with misalignment or arches that are collapsed, right? And then and then you go through pregnancy and your feet grow and flatten out a little bit too, right?
So if you looked at me and you looked at a picture of my dad, right? We look alike. And we look alike because if you peeled my skin back, we have the same bone structure. It's the same thing with your feet. So a lot of times, and I take care of a lot of kids. I love when the parents are in, because if the parents come in with their kids, they take their shoes off too, because there is a major genetic component to foot position. So you will see that alignment. And, when I'm teaching my class, you have supination, you have pronation, and there's a graph that I use that's like so. And at the top middle of the graph is like normal. And then there's very, very like severe supination. And then all the way, and like very, very severe supination, we're talking about like club foot, just to give you a gauge of what we are. And then when you get over to the other side of pronation, and on that curve, it's just what type of treatment that they're going to need, whether it's surgical at the very grand ends of these things versus custom orthotics, accommodating orthotic shoe selection. So it's just a matter of recognizing what is the issue. And when the pain starts, that's when you can address it. I'm a big proponent of addressing it beforehand. So that with the children, when they come in and like their crystal ball is sitting right next to them,
Right.
So you can see where they're going to be. So if I have a dad that has severely flat feet, they're worried about their kids' like heel position or foot position, I'm like, they're going to likely be a blend of both of you. Then again, back to my overpraise of women, you guys, after watching my wife go through pregnancy, I would be on bed rest right around the 2nd week of pregnancy. But
it's true.
And I mean that woman worked like she worked until like the kids came out, and I would have just been like, I'm good. But the hormones, and it's another miracle, not to harp on it, but those babies are too big to make their way out, and you have hormones
Yes, they
that
are.
relax everything, and unfortunately it relaxes your feet too. So what I always tell, it's not that your bones grow, it's just that everything kind of relaxed. So while it's like my feet grew, they grew usually like lengthwise. Does it happen all the time? No. But, it can happen. But the prize at the end of pregnancy is well worth the extra cycle.
It is, absolutely. What is the biggest threat to our foot health? Do you think, I mean, you mentioned it a little bit, type 2 diabetes, gout. I would think obesity. Is that true?
In my experience, I mean, there are a lot of buzz things that are out in the health world. Diabetes is a serious, serious problem. The good news is we are doing amazing with the development of new medications, nutrition management. Childhood
Yeah.
obesity is a massive issue because you're running into my generation. Type 2 diabetes was usually adult onset, and you could tell the people that were likely gonna deal with that. Now that we're dealing with like childhood obesity, it's a major threat. And I keep going back to your sentence, Kirsten, like, got to keep you moving, right? And I'm sorry I keep going off on tangents. I apologize. Like, I have to go.
That's what we do. That's why podcasts are so
Okay.
great, Dr. Nick. Yeah.
When I go in, I get consulted at our local hospital here, Jefferson Einstein. I go in and it'll be a 65-year-old man who they called me in, who was a diabetic patient with a bone infection in their big toe joint. I walk in, I, you know, I introduce myself. I let the patient know that I'm here to help them. I understand that you have this diabetic foot wound. There's a concern that there's a bone infection. Who's your podiatrist? And 90% of the time, they don't have one, as these diabetics. And what ends up happening, and it's one of the more frustrating things as a physician, because the human body doesn't forget what you did to it. And a lot of times we can have, you know, I could throw pixie dust on a wound, Kirsten, and I'm not going to be able to do anything. But here's the positive, because I'm candy canes and rainbows all the time. We are managing diabetes
Tell.
better, right? There is a
Yeah.
significant, and Dr. David Armstrong, who is like this incredible man, podiatrist down in the South, has created incredible models of management for diabetic foot care and the union between vascular specialists and diabetes. So the recognition and control, a lot of times, just like that gentleman that was sitting in the hospital had no knowledge of how to manage his diabetes. Now we're able to manage it better. So that's why now, like, when I get a patient that's in their 50s and they're having foot problems, like, I got a big issue with that. I'm somebody before, like, we had this incredible transition in like the 90s of this knowledge of the toe and flow model of how we could manage it. Now we have medications that are better. We have nutrition that is better. We got to make our food better, making better decisions. But, you know, I remember growing up and the Marlboro Man was the coolest guy on the planet,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I love the fact that, you go to a restaurant right now. When I was in like my teens and 20s, like, you could smoke in restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my kids would find that like insane to me. So we're making
Yeah.
better decisions. We're managing diabetes better. The obesity needs to be addressed. And I think it is, like, with knowledge, with food programs in like public school systems. But it's the one thing that I thought was amazing was food availability. Like, that's one of the major issues that we're dealing with, even in America. And like healthy food. Like, healthy food is hard to get your hands on. I take it for granted, I'm in Plymouth Meeting. There's a Whole Foods down the street. There's a Giant, there's a Weis, and it's available. But then to be able to get healthy living conditions, healthy food to people that need it the most will help with the diabetic epidemic, the obesity epidemic.
It's a whole overhaul that needs to happen, because while I do challenge the notion that it is expensive to eat healthy,
Mhm.
because I think that we can more and more, it's time consuming to eat healthy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And time is money and people have to work. And I get that. But we can grow food. Now, we could have a whole conversation about regenerative agriculture and how we can't get good things from our soil, but you can grow food.
Yeah.
And you can cook healthy, but that takes a lot of time. And if you are a single mother on food stamps trying to provide for 4 kids, you don't have a whole lot of time to do that, because you're also trying to go to work and it's cheaper to buy a bag of Doritos. So we have to figure out how to make the food less expensive as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I wish I had a solution, like, but
Well, come on. Remember that question I asked, what's next? You said there's more. Like, that's
Is
it.
that
You're
it?
going to overhaul the
Right?
entire, yeah, seriously. We figured out your purpose.
Listen, I'm
Nice.
Italian, right? Put olive oil in everything.
Exactly.
Everything.
Put olive oil in
Everything.
everything. Or just go to Italy more.
Well, I mean, if I would love to do that. I know you just, take your time. And
Because that
actually,
food.
like, one thing too is getting better eating habits.
Mhm.
One of the things is making better food selections when you're eating, taking your time to eat. Like, I have to tell my 11-year-old son, wait for your stomach to catch up with your mouth and your mind.
Yep.
Otherwise,
Why do these kids shovel it in like we're never going to feed them again?
I don't know. I could understand that, like, in the old days, if you were in like a family of 9, you know,
Yeah. But you always get
yeah,
fed
you're going to eat. Yeah.
frequently.
It's like,
It's the
you
same
constantly
thing.
got to combat this kid to like chill out. Like, there's going to be, it's not going away. So, and God bless it. That would ability
I
to say,
just love, though, that, listen, you are a podiatrist and you're talking about the necessity for good, healthy food. And it does go back to full body health when we're talking about type 2 diabetes, which I completely agree is an epidemic. And that's also something that we know that leads to cognitive decline, which is the whole purpose for this podcast in the first place, was my mother and her early dementia. So it is all connected. And then I go back to, and part of the reason why I had you on and I wanted to talk about foot health is that if you're wearing those high heels, if you're wearing those stilettos, you want to stay seated. You don't want to get up and do extra steps and just keep moving. And the more that you can move, the more you're going to keep that body healthy, whether it pertains to something like diabetes or any other, or even cognitive decline. We know we have to keep moving. But if you don't have the right shoes on, you're going to stay sedentary.
treat those high-heeled shoes like it's Halloween, right? You're just dressing up. Like,
Right. Oh, good
yeah.
point.
And I think it's nice to look nice. It makes you feel good
Yes.
about yourself. But my God, if I could show you an x-ray of what the foot is doing in a high-heeled shoe, like, it's just like you take.
Or even just unsupported shoes. I mean, you don't want to go for a walk if you can feel the ground underneath you or.
Well, also too, like when you have an unsupportive shoe, or if you have a shoe with a very bad outsole, there's a possibility wandering outside, like you could form some type of injury, uneven terrain, like stony areas, like stone bruises that you can get in your foot, like those types of things, which will eliminate you from doing it. The other thing too, though, that shoes are so readily available now, and good shoes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
my father would go and get his shoes resoled. Nowadays, like, that doesn't happen. Like,
Yeah. My grandfather was a cobbler. Is that what
oh
they're called?
yeah, yeah, and
Do they even exist anymore?
there's one around me, and they're amazing, but primarily what they're for is for like orthopedic adjustments to shoes.
Right.
Like, if, say, somebody has a limb length discrepancy that's significant enough, they would put an outer, but you got to
A
find
lift.
them, you know.
Yeah.
But the ability to be in that proper shoe to allow you to walk and to have support, to have orthotics to stabilize your foot. It'll allow your foot to function in the way that it should function. We've got 26 bones, you've got 33 joints, you've got over 100 ligaments and muscles. There is no better description than to call a foot an orchestra. If you think about it, with all your 4 sections and the fact that they've got to move, and, unlike any other joint, like the way that the foot moves and, all planes of human anatomy, the way that that foot moves, like, it's so dynamic. So again, like we had talked about, like, I'm a wizard because I tell people to put on shoes. It actually is so beneficial to protect, to allow for good fluid motion, to allow for full body health. And it's an easy step that you can do. The other thing that's important is wearing a shoe that fits properly. So one of the major things is when you go to try on shoes, I have a couple of rules, if it's okay. If I
Do it. Yeah.
You got to go in the afternoon. our feet swell, right? Throughout the day. When you wake up, you are basically elevated. If you ever talk to anybody that may deal with edema or like venous issues or peripheral vascular disease, like when they wake up, a lot of times their feet are not as swollen as they would get as gravity takes over. We're sitting on this blue marble being pulled to the ground, right? And as we spin around this bright yellow star. So you go in the afternoon because that's when you're primarily gonna be wearing the shoes. The other thing, and it's funny, but it's true, you got to go by yourself so that you have time, like so that you can try them on and you can walk around in them. Shoes do not break in anymore, right?
No, that's a fallacy these
The
days.
way that they're made, like they don't break in anymore. So if they don't feel good the second that when you have them on, don't worry, they're not going to feel any better. So you want to make sure that you have the right fitting shoe, that it feels good when you're walking around the store, then you can go home.
I love these. By yourself in the afternoon, and there's no break-in period, so they have to feel good.
Yeah,
Do you have a thought on how often you should replace your walking or your running sneakers?
So depending on the level of activity you're doing, like the rule of thumb with runners is usually 500 miles is what they say. So if you're wearing a shoe primarily for walking and you're doing it every day, you will likely not hit 500 miles, but you should change your shoes every 6 months.
Okay.
The one thing I will
good.
say is the way that shoes are made, when the outsole is starting to show wear, they're done. If we were to think about the anatomy of a shoe, rubber outsole, sometimes they're blown rubber and they'll wear out even faster. But that midsole, the white EVA portion of a shoe, while on the outside it may look okay, if we were to like turn it and face it, the way that the foot sits in the shoe, like you won't see it around the rim of it, but it's getting caked down on the inside. So if you're not in a shoe like with the appropriate support and it's not holding you into alignment, it will wear on the inside. So if you start to see wearing on the outsole, that's usually a good sign that it's time. The other reason why, the other thing signal would be if you purchase a shoe and it helped alleviate your pain, if that pain starts again, it's time for another pair. Like they've caked down or worn in too much.
You mentioned one of them, you said yoga, but one of the questions I ask everybody on the podcast, any other non-negotiables in your life when it comes to your health and wellness?
Well, I have to be able to go to Eagles games. That's a non-negotiable.
Nice. Nicely done.
That's absolutely a non-negotiable. It's like my wife lets me go. Non-negotiables for me. Faith is primary, right?
Nice.
I need to be able to get in my time, and it's personal and it's not like outright, but I definitely need to even if it's just 5 minutes a day, to just center myself and I'll meditate or I'll pray. Like I got to do it. But also too, when I don't do it, I'm awful. Like I'm miserable. Other non-negotiable, when I'm awful and I'm miserable, when I don't always accomplish this, I got to sleep.
Yes.
Have to sleep. And if I am not sleeping enough, I'm horrible. Sometimes, unfortunately, my duties limit my sleep, but I got to make it up. And the other non-negotiable, and you saw me do it a couple times, if I am not hydrated, I'm miserable. So my other non-negotiable is I gotta be hydrated. And probably my number one non-negotiable is I need time with my family. And they're absolutely my priority. And it's funny because my daughter's turning 13. So now we're getting into this awful period of time in a father's life when they don't want anything to do with me. So it's any excuse I can have to spend with my kids and my wife, I'll take.
Well, you hit them. I mean, you hit the main components of your wellness, which is what this podcast is built on. It's how you eat, how you sleep, how you move, and relationships and spirituality. You've got to have all those pieces and those pillars. And what is, in closing, maybe one thing that you wish everybody was doing or knew about their foot health in terms of how it relates to full body health and stress?
I think that you should listen to your feet. I think that, I've dedicated my life to it. It's an incredible, powerful, beautiful instrument on the bottom of our legs. It's enabled us to cover this entire world with human beings, with our ability to move around. I think that people should always check their feet. Like when I snowboard, and one of the things like on my helmet, it was like from a sock company, but I have a sticker that says inspect your feet daily. Like, so it's like, I think people should always check their feet daily. I think that, like, if you're having any pain, you should not ignore it. And, not to promote podiatry, but I will, like, we are fully capable of helping you with any issues that you may have with your foot or ankle. I think that you should wear the proper shoes. That's why I love being part of Revitalign, because like like, it's just, I'm happy to be part of, I always like say, I'm like, I'm just happy to be part of this team. But I do think that also one thing that we don't do is we don't pamper ourselves enough. We don't,
Yeah.
care for ourselves enough. And I mean, that's whole body, but even your feet. Like, there's nothing wrong with like soaking your feet in Epsom salts, let that magnesium get in there, applying cream to our feet, not in between your toes. That's because it's already too wet in there, just around.
Good
Yeah,
tip.
and like just stretching, mobilizing, moving them around. It's just, your feet are so incredibly important. When I would go into nursing homes when I was paying my dues as a young podiatrist, you could tell the difference between the health of the patients that just stayed in their rooms and then the ones that were out and about moving around. So, like, that's the long standing amazement of how powerful your feet can be. It helps you with your full body wellness. It helps you with your social well being. Like, so you don't discount your feet.
Yeah, don't take them for granted.
Yeah.
You are wonderful. Thank you so much. This was so fun.
This was great. I was very nervous. So, I mean, and similar to what you always do, you make me feel comfortable, and then I just talk way too much.
No, you didn't at all. This is exactly what I want you to do. You can always see Dr. Nick whenever you see Revitalign or Spanko on the air at QVC and QVC.com. Where else can they find you?
In my office name is Barking Dogs Foot and Ankle Care. So, like, talking about feet, it's one of the main old sayings. Like, if your feet are hurt, your dogs
Yeah,
are
your dogs are
barking.
barking.
So, like, we just made it like, so you get my personality right before you walk in. Two wonderful doctors, myself, Dr. Panna. My what's the best part about my office, honestly, Kerstin, is my office team. Like, you see me for a little bit.
Yeah.
The women that work for me are just remarkable people, and they're in charge of me. They're my gatekeepers, and they're wonderful. We are located in Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania, which is a little bit outside of Philadelphia. My Dr. Panna, Dr. Quintran, they're my two wonderful physicians that I get the beauty of working with every day. Dr. Panna is in charge of our social media, and you can find us at Barking Dogs Podiatry on Instagram. She is hilarious with what she does. But I'm honored. And one of the things about what's next is, like, one of my favorite things to do is I go down to Temple and I teach pediatrics to the young doctors. And like, that's so you can find me at Temple, and you will absolutely find me. And if anybody ever wants to invite me, any Philadelphia sporting event, I am more than happy to go. And anytime
Go Birds.
anytime the Wu-Tang Clan is here in concert, or the Grateful Dead, or Radiohead, you've got me.
Or yoga Tuesday through Friday at
Yoga 6. That's absolutely true.
No affiliation, but still.
No affiliation to Yoga 6, except that there is a wonderful group of men and women that teach the class there that beat me up at least 3 days a week.
Love it. I love it. It was so great to see you. I hope to see you again soon. And of course, we're going to put links to everything, maybe not the Wu-Tang Clan, in the show notes, and also a discount code for Waco Shoe Company.
Awesome.
So you can get yourself some new shoes as well. Dr. Nick, thank you so much for being here.
It's wonderful to see you. Thank you.
I cannot wait to share with you my guest on the next episode of StRest. She is a stress doctor. Finally, after months and months of this podcast, we have the exact person that you need. She is a stress doctor, Dr. Rebecca Heiss. She is a stress physiologist. She has her PhD in basically the neuroscience of stress. And she blew my mind No pun intended. It's how we frame stress. Stress isn't bad for you. There's the headline. It's how we frame it. We're going to dive into cortisol, breathing techniques, what you need to do in the first 3 minutes when stress hits, and all the things we talk about, how it impacts your body and your mindset change around stress. You don't need to be a victim to it. You need to embrace it and learn to love it because it can be good for you. I know, right? I cannot wait for you to meet Dr. Rebecca Heiss on the next episode of StRest.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your reviews help others find the podcast and join our community. Follow me on social media at Kerstin.Lindquist for daily tips and inspiration. And visit my website at www.Kerstin-Lindquist.com to sign up for our newsletter and receive exclusive content. The information provided in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions that you may have regarding a medical condition. The host of this podcast is a certified health coach and medical researcher, not a licensed medical professional, and the content shared does not constitute medical advice. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, we encourage you to do your own research and consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your healthcare treatment plans. Thank you for joining me on this journey to reduce stress and make room for rest. Remember, you're not alone. Keep coming back, share your story, ask for help, and give yourself grace.